Bhagavate Muktanandaya. Om Namo 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 Bhagavate Muktanandaya. 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 Om Namo Bhagavate Muktanandaya.
Thank you so much. Let's remain with our eyes closed for a while and welcome everybody here today. And been enjoying the summer with everyone. And past 6 weeks been working, and we don't typically work. I've been working with people individually, and we've been going into a mutually held state, that mysterious conjunctio, inside to inside, and then working with invoking at the level of the Sambhogakaya Namanakaya connection, right? I've been working with that, and and we, like most things, we learn from the articulation of people's experience. I blab for a while for the money, but the actual the actual reality here is when people in the awareness state, they articulate their experience, and in that capacity of being in the field, it's communicated to us directly inside to inside, and their words, their articulation helps us understand what's taking place. And so we've been doing this for a bit of time, and helping us all be able to access the archetypical dimension, be able to invoke it, And then some different phenomena has been coming up a lot, like the Kachari Mudra, and the breathless breath, and that profound sense of who-ness that's not mind, a function of mind at all. And so I'm going to give a little talk today on some of this, and because they are very much intimately together, and personhood, the blue person, Nikilakanda Kanta, and and opening this up a little bit. So let's extend into me, and we'll move through this with some rapidity, I hope, okay? Because ultimately, we're going deeper into Tantra. And the Tantra is awareness at Namanikaya, flesh, dogs, cars, but it's also at the expression of the Dharmakaya, pure potentiality, but at the archetypical level. And being able to work within that is transformative. There's more freedom in that than in the level of, there's less determination in Sambhogakaya than there is in Namanikaya. Okay, there's more freedom there, and we can invoke that, and we can invoke that, and enter the Sambhogakaya within, and bring that into our Namanikaya experience. There's a vast amount of support, right? So, and then we start focusing also on personhood, who-ness. So the felt sense of who-ness is not a me-ness. Me-ness is self-fixation, c'est moi, me. And in fact, the sense of who-ness can free us from objectified self-fixation. And this who-ness we'll be focusing on here is not being in a room. It is the room itself. It is the space in space. Now, the sense of me often replaces the sense of who. When the experience of non-conceptual felt sense of who is not known and not experienced, that's far away, the felt sense of me-ness arises desperately. The sense of who is unfixatedness, and this innate sense of no-thingness can be found and even experienced as ongoing timeless awareness in time. That's simultaneously timeless awareness in time. Innermost awareness in its manifestation, this innermost awareness in its manifestation can be experienced as who-ness, as no-thingness, as open knowingness. I'll go a little later that who-ness is the subjective side of knowingness, all the way through, from potentiality, Dharmakaya, all the way up through Sambhogakaya into Namanikaya. The sense of me-ness is self-fixated, self-referencing, and this me-ness can obscure the experiential arising of who-ness. I'm sure we've all felt that at least once or twice. The sense of me-ness reflects being in my mind alone, and the sense of who-ness reflects being deeply within the awareness field. Infinite its horizons, because it's both horizontal and vertical. Who-ness manifests most directly as a pause. We're going into the pause, or within the pause. The pause is unbound in-betweenness, the space in between, transitional spaciousness, to use another language. When the spaciousness of the breathless breath, now we're taking the same topic and we're approaching it through the breathless breath, right? When the spaciousness of the breathless breath opens, who-ness can be felt as uncontained and unbound. So when that breathless breath happens, pure who-ness, unbound, felt, known. Who-ness is experiential openness. Openness without a sense of name or prior to name. So when that who-ness, when that arises, that's prior to name, prior to mind. It's not that there's not a mind there, but the experience is prior to mind. And later the Lord people will go through the tattvas. When the who-ness manifests, it is prior to mind in the incarnation. Say yes if this is making some sense to all of us, okay? And in Phenomenology, Dasein, to use a Heideggerian language, is really relating to this dimension. When the breathless breath has manifested, when the breathless breath manifests, and it is in the breast, that's where it takes place, right? When the breathless breath manifests, the experience is always mysterious. It's one of the most mysterious experiences we can have. Not easily thought. What does breathless breath mean? Breathless means no breath. There is no breath. So the word breath here, so breathless means no breath. There's no breath. Then the word breath here, in this context, signifies that although there is no breath, there is respiration. There's a respiration taking place, okay? Hang out. There is this innermost experience of no breath, no inhaling, no exhaling of air, and yet there's this respiration. There's this inner sense of breath taking place. So now we're going to focus a little bit on this respiration. Raise your hands if this is making somewhat sense, okay? There is a respiration without breath and beyond breath. For instance, in the Kachari Mudra, this breathless breath experience takes place. The breath stops, and yet there's this inner sense of breathless respiration. And that's where we're focusing on, the inner respiration. And that is where Tantra begins, at this level of the inner respiration. And we're going to make a little more going into this dimension, okay? This experience of respiration without breath is described in various traditions of Eastern philosophy. For instance, in the Dzogchen tradition, Longchenpa describes the experience in his great text, Words and Meaning. The process is also described in Chan Buddhism. Taoist Yanchen Qigong, Dr. Yen would talk about this. And in Hinduism, the breathless breath is described in Kashmir Shaivism and various Kundalini texts. And such descriptions are also in Huyen Buddhism. A great text of Huyen Buddhism, one of the great, great texts, is the flower ornament scripture. It's pretty big, it's pretty heavy, but it's fantastic. And all the different traditions embrace it, but it is its own thing. And Cleary's translation, but you will see that description of the breathless breath also. It's a really... It is a masterpiece on the archetypal dimension, okay? It's very beautiful. And when you read these great tantras, you'll go into them, okay? You're not reading for information. If you go for information, you're going to get information. If you go for what it's invoking as you read it, as you enter into the poetic language, you will feel yourself entering that dimension. So back to breathless respiration. So breathless respiration is chi, the primordial chi. It is the primordial Shakti. It is primordial sublime vibrations of the energy. It is pulsation. It is undulation. It's spanda. Breathless respiration is movement of the life force, the unfolding of vitalness, movements of the innermost field of awareness. In Freudian language, it's eros. It's alive. It is the aliveness that permeates everything and anything. So yes, if that's making some sense. Yet, within this phenomenological experience of this appearing, shining forth, this radiating force of respiration. So it's actually the light radiating forth, becoming stuff, but it becomes energy first. Whenever we feel energy, within underlying the energy is the light manifesting the energy. When we feel that inner respiration, that is the radiance becoming flesh, alive, pulsating. So, shining forth, this radiating force of respiration is the sense of who-ness beyond name. Who-ness as vibrating spaciousness. Space vibrates, pulsates. Breathless respiration is profound wholeness. So when you go into these states where there's no breath, and yet you're alive, pulsating, that sense of wholeness opens up. But it's not my name. It's not my place. But it is wholeness. It is knowingness at this level. Awareness is wholeness beyond my mind. Say yes if this is making some sense from your experience. Yes. Respiration is chi, and chi is both source and result simultaneously. So in all these higher teachings, so-called higher teachings, we don't the cause and effect thing is put aside, because what you experience is the result and the source simultaneously. You experience it. Wholeness is the breathless vibration of the energy and the openness in union. It's the openness and the energy, or the radiance, the light. We're always working with space and light. Radiance, openness, in union, manifesting as energy, as knowingness. So respiration is the vibration, pulsation of the field of spaciousness. Respiration is the unfolding vitalness of the field of primordial awareness. And to cultivate this, and the experience helps us live a long life, and experience immortality, unborn, undying state. They're all connected. Of course, a person can feel and experience respiration and the breath at the same time. So, it's not that they're mutually exclusive, but you become aware of the respiration when the breath stops, when the external breath stops. It becomes very present to us. But that doesn't exclude that they go together most of the time. Say yes if that's making sense to you. Wholeness is a person can feel and experience respiration and breath at the same time. Most often, respiration and breath are simultaneous and in complete, intimate relatedness. Most often, breath and respiration are experientially intertwined. But in essence, they're not completely identical. There is this intertwining of breath and respiration, intertwining of breath and chi, intertwining of breath and shakti, intertwining of breath and, in the truest sense, primordial energy. As the great Qigong masters describe, to enter into the Qigong state is enter into the state of respiration. And those of us who are really fortunate to practice Qigong with Mr. Ma, they will feel that happening. You start off focusing on breath and the respiration, and then suddenly the breath stops. And there's a respiration, and everything becomes more refined, more pure, more there-ness. So to enter the state of non-conceptual awareness is to enter the state of respiration, the state of the subtle vibration. One time we gave a little talk here on the winds. So often in the Tibetan language they use the wind, okay? The wind and the horse. You do these, the wind and the horse is reflecting to the same level of the vibration, the wind energy. Say yeah, it's making sense. So sometimes you can go practice, just practicing the winds, okay? Same topic. In a certain way, we do not respirate. So in a certain way, we do not respirate, but we enter into that dimension of respiration. Respiration respirates us and inspires us. In the truest sense, breath is a function of respiration, rather than respiration being a function of breath. This primordial respiration leads us to the infinite diversity of experience. This respiration is continuous, motion, ceaseless motion within stillness, and stillness within the motion. So one of the surprising things when you're in the breath is there's no more breath. You go, and then suddenly in the stillness of it all, then you feel the arising at times of the respiration. You start pulsating this respiratory state, and then also sometimes the breath itself arises in that state. This primordial respiration manifests the visible respiration of the breath. So this primordial respiration manifests the visual respiration of the breath. Respiration manifests the visible respiration of animating emptiness and the freeing of the containing of the elements. So when you and I are in this state, this is when one starts to have more mastery of the elements. What is Tantra concerned with? It's concerned with the elemental level of experience. Respiration is freeing of the fixatedness of thingness, and respiration frees us into spaciousness and frees us into the space, the light, the energetic continuum of experience. Respiration brings, and creates the potentiality within facticity. So we're in facticity, and yet we start to feel the creative potential in our circumstances. They do not require us so much. We're not such a slave to the circumstances. Respiration brings forth and reflects the experience of timeless awareness in time. That's the other thing when we're in that respiration state, non-conceptualness. And then we feel that timelessness of it. Ultimately, this energy of respiration is light. Illumination is forming forms of light as energy, and light becoming energy, and the energy becoming respiration. The pulsation of the light becomes the pulsation of the energy, and the radiance of the light becomes the radiance of respiration. And you can feel the experience of respiration as light, pulsating as you. And when you read or experience tantric sexuality is not primarily a Namanikaya moment. Tantric sexuality is in the level of respiration. That's why a lot of times there's not much movement or rubbing. It happens out of the pulsation of the respiration, simultaneous union of the respiration of the life force itself. Say yes if that's making sense. We might be going more into a little tantric stuff to spice up this boring seminar. The light congeals. That's why tantric life is very independent life too. You with me? And a lot of the tantric texts, which I'll speak about critically, got preoccupied with the sexual component, a guy thing. And then they got preoccupied with the penis. Really, you read Havajra Tantras, you study it, get some empowerments, and the heart essence is not the focus. The golden rod is the penis, and the head of the penis is the big focus. You with me? I'm serious. Okay. And then as things unfold, the energy moves up. Say yes if this makes sense to you, okay? So the light congeals and uncongeals. And that's why Longchenpa writes about this also, what the tantras are. Because always, what is the tantras? And this is a particular understanding of what the tantras are. Later you go to the 14th century and the person, 14th, who helped create the Galupa Tosengpa, you might know, he's very famous, would say, Tantra is basically the practice of identification with the deities. And so it's a very mental form of Tantra. You with me? It's very mentalistic. And then you go earlier into a Tara Tantra, you go into the Yogini Tantras, or the Gudaba Tantra. It's the invocation of the archetypical dimension, because it's closer to shamanism. Tibetan Buddhism arises out of shamanism. The Bon tradition was primarily shamanistic. Some of us studied with for a number of years, and then the let's call it the Nigma, is a shamanistic, an invocation, bringing forth that which is eminent in us into explicitness. Raise your hands if that's making sense to you. That's why those texts are simply ways of invoking that which is already there. Say yes if that's making sense. Okay? So the light congeals and uncongeals. It's both congealing and uncongealing, even right at this moment in us. It congeals at this level and it's uncongealing simultaneously at all the levels of the incarnatingness. It's always congealing and uncongealing. It's becoming everything and anything. The light is always opening and closing, pulsating. This opening and closing, this pulsating, is called the abhasa in Kashmir Shaivism. That's how it's described, the abhasa, opening, closing. You also see this in Dzogchen, where it's called flashing, the flashings of light. You've seen even that. There's a flash, and opening and closing. Say yes if we're together right now. Okay, now. So nature forming luminous spheres of light becomes spheres of energy. So when you and I are like even working together with each other in the archetypical dimension, you will see spheres of light and spheres of energy. It doesn't necessarily mean you're seeing deities in the formal, like somebody has 3 heads and 2 arms and 17 eyes, okay? Sometimes it appears that way, especially if you have some Tibetan tradition, but it can appear all sorts of ways, you know. In the Japanese tradition, you see mountains and water and birds and geese, and so there's not one manifestation. The manifestation is the manifestation of the energy coming through tradition and manifesting in mind. Almost done. So nature forming luminous spheres of light becoming spheres of energy. The light is aliveness becoming the energy of aliveness, becoming the respiration of aliveness. That's why these practices at this level will help you have an ageless sense, even though your body is falling apart. Because it's working with vitalness. It is working with aliveness. Respiration is vitalness. I mean, one time I said this, it was such, I was an American teacher, is the Dharmakaya alive? And I said, no, Dharmakaya is not alive. At that moment, I knew we weren't together in the same boat, you know, at that moment. Huh? But that's why just the teacher tests you. You have to test your teacher to see where you're at and who you're with and where you want to be with. Or you just become a sheep following along. So our respiration becomes attuned to respiration, yeah. So by being in the field of awareness, yeah, the light is aliveness, becoming energy of aliveness, becoming the respiration of aliveness. Psyche is light, and light becomes the radiance of respiration, manifesting within the flesh. Mind itself arises out of psyche of respiration. So my mind, thinking, arises out of psyche. It arises out of this. It's manifested in this. And there's this relationship between the two. By being in the field of awareness, by being in the Qigong state, by living within the field of being all the time, or most of the time, or even some of the time, we live in this dimension of respiration and inspiration. Our respiration becomes attuned to the respiration of everyone. So this respiration is not my trying to be attuned to your breath. Now, being attuned to the breath has a lot of consequences to it. You study the hearth math traditions and the technology of those. Being attuned to the heart essence, the heart breathing, has a lot of effect. But to me, the power of the effect is that it's respiration, attuning to respiration. So if I'm walking around and you're walking around and I'm attuning to the respiration of all these creatures, what happens to me? Chi, Shakti, energy, awareness, being attuned to the respiration. I can be attuned to the breath, but that's a little mechanical. It is not as direct. What's underlying that is the respiratoriness. Respiration. Do mountains respirate? Do trees respirate? Does water respirate? Absolutely. The power of Chan Buddhism is on this topic of respiration. Much of Chan is preoccupied with this Chan Buddhism, right? Chan Buddhism is with also relates to Zen, but they're focused more on this level of respiration, nature, and its respiratoriness. Now, continue on, Homos. So our respiration becomes attuned to the respiration with everyone. Respiration is attuned to respiration. This phenomenon is not simply physical breathing attuned to physical breathing. Rather, the subtlemost attunement is respiration attuned to respiration of persons, of animals, of nature itself. How many people feel that in their bodies? That, yes, some of you guys are really, really good at that, okay? Especially if you have a pet. Pets bring this so directly in the relational life. So you don't have to know all this stuff, but just in the relational life, pets bring this into human beings, okay? We become attuned to the respiration dimension. We become attuned to the respiration dimension of experience and appearance. And if I'm a Shakti person, I become attuned to the Shakti. And if I'm a Qigong person, Taoist, I'm attuned to the Qi. And if I'm a Chan, I'm attuned to the respiration. Huh? Now, this is an opening of the Sambhogakaya dimension of experience within the Manakaya. So within the Manakaya, the Sambhogakaya dimension is opening for me. You with me? This is living within the Sambhogakaya dimension, and this is the realm of Tantra. So let's now go into Tantra. Okay? Tantra. And the realm... Now, Tantra has a long history in many cultures. And like all this stuff, it's always diverse. But now we're going to start talking about Tantra. And I mentioned the Uttara Tantra, one of the first great Tantras that brought forth what? The understanding of Buddha nature. Are you with me? Or the wisdom nature, or the nature of awareness, manifesting everything and everything. Gnosis, knowingness, aliveness, manifesting everything and everything. And with you start going along with Tantra, the word Ananda begins to arise. With in Hinduism or Tibet or Buddhism, bliss. And that bliss overcomes suffering. Bliss overcomes pain. Ecstasy. Huh? Pleasure. But the pleasure of this dimension. Say yes if that's making sense. Because if you understand this, then you can do it. You might be doing it. It opens up the tantric dimension. And you're not just following a catechism, okay? So Tantra has a long history. And from the view, and within that view that is being presented here, Tantra is intimately connected with the subtle phenomena of respiration. Tantric roots are shamanistic, huh? And Tantra's roots, both in India and in Tibet, are shamanistic, huh? Shamanism is the power of invocation of the primordial archetypical energies within the consequent manifestation of these energetic, luminous realms in the world. In the language of Dzogchen, Tantra is the invocation of Sambhogakaya realm into the realm of Namanakaya. I've been trying to have not Mr. Ma, but Mahapatra come. And he was going to come the past week, so but with a lot of people on vacation, I'm going to wait to September when we get back. So he's going to come every so often, every 2 years, so he comes and does pujas here. He does pujas. Now, it looks like he's doing puja to a god, we like the yellow earth goddess here, Bhagavanti, you with me? And she's a protectress, and she protects us at the elements of earth. I think it's really good to have her on your side, right? And to have that energy in you. Also, we'll be doing Ganesh here the next coming soon because some new things are unfolding. So for new beginnings, we always have Ganesh. But when we think we're praying to a god outside of ourselves, what many people do, you're locking yourself into a dualistic thing. Are you with me? So when I sometimes say in strange voices like, help me, master, can you lend me a dime? I'm talking dualistically, okay? Maybe a buck, but but that has power to it. But it's not as powerful as Dujum Rinpoche says, stop begging and feel the power in your own body, in your own hand, and the power of invocation. Because it's the power of invocation where we're invoking the deities where? Where are we invoking the level of the deity? in our own self, to experience Divine Mother Mary in our own self. You with me? But to feel Divine Mother Mary in our own self is quite a challenge, because there's an unconditional that starts to arrive beyond our will, and all of us will be afraid of that. When you invoke the deities, your own agency starts dropping back a little bit, and the deity of that primordial quality starts to arise in you. And how do we feel about that? Scared shitless. You follow what I'm saying? Or our own agency becomes attuned to that agency, to use Jung's language. You with me? Say yes if you follow this. So we start invoking the deity as our own self. Now, if we're just doing it mentally, and now I have 3 arms and wings and long toes, that's entertainment tonight. You with me? It can have some effect, but it's really not like the power of Shambhava Mudra. Shambhava Mudra is where you simply do it. You with me? Shambhava Mudra. You just invoke it. Then you can also use the energy and the chant also, but there's a certain level of our own confidence of that experience, and you take the boldness of that power into your own self to bring forth the invocations. You follow what I'm saying here? Yes, please.
When Mother Teresa died,
Mm-hmm.
there was talk about her confessor would say that how she always struggled till she died.
Yep.
She said the Blessed Virgin appeared to her as a young woman and told her, and she started all this stuff in India and take care of the kids, and left. And she really
She suffered enormous.
suffered, and that's what it sounds like. She wasn't able to take that in and say it's coming to me.
Yeah. You know, she's a most actually met her one time briefly in India. There was a transpersonal conference, and she was there, and she came right up here. And she was a most remarkable, mysterious person. And I think she was a true bodhisattva. And bodhisattvas incarnate as roaches and rats. Every dimension has a bodhisattva. Every dimension. And wherever there's suffering, you go to the worst concentration camps, and there will be some being there who's a bodhisattva. And I think she's a bodhisattva, and I think she played the bodhisattva out in every possible way, including despair. Now, I'm not just trying to make a good thing out of a bad piece, a bad story. You with me? But to understand bodhisattvas, they're just not cheery winners. You with me? You can have a loser as a bodhisattva. You with me? And just reading her life and the agony she went, and her difficulty with the church itself. You with me? Institutionalized religion, institutionalized God, and the vast amount of suffering. She struggled with that in her own self. You with me? And yet the power from this little, she looked like she was like 4 feet, is amazing. So I don't know if that's making sense to you, but all this stuff is not just a function of her mind. You with me? And the who-ness that was there in her and people felt was beyond her mind. That's why this who-ness issue is a very important phenomena here. To experience, yes, please.
Simplistic way of saying that is she was chewing up somebody else's karma.
She was chewing up a lot of people's karma.
She was taking it in, and she did it through that way.
She
a little bit like Amma does, where she
takes all that stuff, right? Really cool. Are you with me? So let's continue on here, okay? Say yes if this is making sense. You don't have to believe any of this, but if it's making sense. So the deities and devas or dakinis are the manifestation of primordial manifestation, primordial energies. The deities and dakinis are the archetypical luminous energetic manifestations of potential space of Dharmakaya. They're the expanse of the Dharmakaya. They're the powers and energies and the light of the Dharmakaya. And we see these, and we can see these in each other. We can see this apparitionally, and also without it being a particular form. In the 3rd and 4th centuries, tantric forms began to manifest in India, both in Hinduism and Buddhism. Now, there was no word Hinduism in the 3rd and 4th century, and there was no word Buddhism in the 3rd and 4th century. All these are later things, these different deals going down. You with me? The arising of Tantra brought forth the experience understanding that bliss overcomes suffering. So you start having here a reaction to the earlier disembodied, dissociative things that were being taught both in Vedic and in Buddhism, and the body starts to have some relevance. You with me? And life starts to have and pleasure. So you start having how to incarnate the body and pleasure into this whole deal. And so, okay, so Tantra arose. As Tantra arose, awareness became the path of embodiment rather than solely the path of dissociation. So you have different forms of the Vedas. The Vedantic stuff is more dissociation. You have the Upanishads coming up, which didn't come up until late. The Upanishads were primarily paths of embodiment. For instance, there's an Upanishad on food. And actually, we had some not lamas, but came and did that. Food, and everything is food in this Upanishad. We eat food, food eats us, and it's all the celebration of food. You with me? So the Upanishads start arising, which were very incarnational and village-based. The embodiment was not only a function of the physical body of flesh, so this embodiment is not only the embodiment of the physical body of flesh, but it's the subtle embodiment of the light and the energy of primordial awareness itself. And Tantra, it happened over time, was a manifestation of the experience of the eminence of awareness. Divinity is eminence, not simply the transcendental awareness of otherness. It's not me, not here, not this, not that, and not that, not that either. And by that dissociative technique, you wind up in a place of pure awareness. You with me? But is it valid? It is completely valid, and it completely works at certain times. But it's a neti. You with me? And then, as the tantrics some of the initial tantrics were with us, and then slowly it starts changing. Uttara Tantra was a major change in the 4th century. The Yogini Tantras come out a little bit on the XX side and really start working with the feminine energy, going beyond the law, going beyond the paternalistic energy. You can hear Islam primarily being in the paternalistic frame. Sufism, very, very feminine, and going beyond the law. And so they're starting to integrate sexuality into the whole thing, and tantric sexual rituals, and in trying to how to integrate these powers and have them also that they're divine. Then the 8th century, you have the Gaudama Tantra, with really the great source Tantra, the Nyingma tradition, which is that everything is divine. Everything is divine. Not just the seed. In the Uttara Tantra, we all have the seed of the Buddha mind. In the Gaudama Tantra, we are the Buddha mind. Everything is, divinity is eminence. God is here, right here and now. And as a person could invite also, because are these pantheistic? Is the Nyingma tradition pantheistic? Okay, and some of the other traditions, are they also pantheistic? Is the Kagyu tradition pantheistic? Some will say yes. Namkhe Norbo says yes. When you speak about the base being awareness, manifesting everything and anything, that is divinity. Except the divinity, even though there's a who-ness, it's not a person. Okay, there's a difference when we think of God being a person, the big being and all the other beings. So I'm getting distracted, but I'll get it. So in the religions of the desert, Islam, Judaism, and Christianity, they all come from the same forth, from Abraham, right? And you have all this coming from that, and usually are killing each other most of the time. Okay, some of the time they get together against the other one anyway. But God is an entity for the most part, and so God is a person. And God is an entity. So you have relationships to the entity. And also the joining the joining of religion and spirituality is very complete. So God is also the King of Kings, the Lord of Lords. And you have this royalty thing. You with me? And you have this tribal royalty thing. Okay, you with me? and then around this you have a whole thing. Then, as the mystics develop in Christianity, okay, as the mystics come through, which I know more about than with some of the mystics, El Arabi, I know about that in Sufism, and I'm sure it's in the Kabbalah, but maybe not. But God becomes less, it's still a who-ness, but God is not a person. He's not a personality. He's a person, but not a personality, and not an entity. Now, the same challenge as we go into this text of the Purushka, of the blue person, the blue being. Is the blue being an entity or not? And that's where we're going right now. Raise your hands if this is making some sense where we're going, okay? So, because this is eminence versus transcendence, huh? Through eminence, we can become transcendent. And actually, if you practice certain forms of transcendence, you can become eminent. But eminent is here and now, and all this has validity. All these circumstances are the path of self-liberation, here and now. They're not particularly monastic. The Tibetan master Tongpa, T-O-N-G-E-P-A, he was the great master, a really great master. So the Gelugpa tradition, Dalai Lama's tradition, created this lineage, would say that Tantra was the practice of identification with the deities. And this and again, they start going back and using the Indian philosophy. Again, we made that distinction. The early Dzogchen masters that were in the 8th century, in these early centuries, Dzogchen had its own formulation through Bon tradition, which was not Indian influence, began influencing. Then the Tibetans come there. You start having this own form, and then the 11th century, they're also going. Tibet starts getting thousands of lamas start coming because they had to leave because of the attacks, the Muslim attacks and things like that. So you start bringing Indian philosophy back into it again, and it starts becoming stronger, like the Kagyu tradition, the Sangpa tradition, the Gelugpa tradition, and the Siddha traditions there. Okay, so this declaration but it's a little bit different than the invocation, the shamanistic invocation, than the identification. So there's a lot more visualization in this form than the invocation form. So a little bit like Lama Tantra and the Enigma tradition, with Enigma, you don't do much visualization. Kunzen Dechen Lipa, the ones here, you do a little bit, but not much. In the other new training, you do a lot of visualization with the mind. Okay. A little bit different. Can you feel the difference? Okay. Anyway, if you practice, you do less. If you practice some of these texts, you don't worry about visualization. In the Enigma training, you simply do the invocation of them. Okay. And I think for myself, by doing the invocation, I have a felt sense of what's taking place with some immediacy. The declaration took place in the 14th century. Tantra had already existed over 1,000 years. As expressed in both the Bon and Enigma traditions of Tibet, they were alive and shamanistic in origin, and were the practice of the subtle light becoming energy, and to the attunement of this unfolding process. Tantra was the attunement to the respiration dimension of human experience. You won't hear this in the later Tantras as much. You won't hear it in tantric practice of Gelugpa as much. This is just maybe made to be totally useless to you, or you may find it useful. Tantra, from this point, is the invocation of the Sambhogakaya realm of the archetypical light, and the energies in having this archetypical configurations reorganize Nirmanakaya experience. You can see where astrology comes into this, supporting this, because astrology looks how the archetypical influences our mind. You with me? And so and how to work with the archetypical stuff. The deities and dakinis or devas are primordial manifestation of the archetypical energies in the light that could be brought forth in oneself and in one's circumstances. The realm of the Sambhogakaya was the realm of primordial pulsations, sublime vibrations, and the direct experience of archetypical respiration. It is not very mentalistic at all. The archetypical Sambhogakaya was the manifestation of the Dharmakaya, and the Sambhogakaya manifestation into the Manakaya. Sambhogakaya manifests me first of all as Sambhogakaya, and then as Sambhogakaya manifested me as me. And I'm bringing that forth. I'm bringing forth who I am. Ama. So now, breathe. Sorry to take so long. Hope you're not asleep. Who-ness as Purusha. Who-ness as Purusha. Who-ness as the blue being. Who-ness. So you have a whole stream of who-ness. And mostly in Indian philosophy, you have this theme of who-ness. So where is who-ness within this multidimensional realm of the unfolding of light and energy? So here we're in this realm of unfolding of light and energy. Is it simply a chunk of mechanistic? Or is there who-ness here? Is there who-ness? Who-ness. Who-ness. Who. Allah who. So, the manifestation, the realm of manifestation of who-ness was and is all three dimensions of the kayas from this frame, and also from the tattvas. That's why Shiva is a who. And from this frame, Dharmakaya is a who. Who manifests as Sambhogakaya. The deities are whos, and you are who. Purusha is a person as who-ness, and sometimes if you have good fortune you will see the blue person in your meditation. Often in the meditation the Purusha is a little, about 3 inches big. You see the blue person, and then sometimes the blue person enters you, or you enter the blue person, or it just all dissolves into radiant blue light. Or sometimes you can see the blue person, and sometimes the blue person is the person ordinary size, and sometimes the blue person is just this huge mountainous being, the Purusha. Who's heard of the Purusha? Raise your hands. Great, okay. So the realm of the primordial who-ness are expressed in the Indian traditions as Purusha. Purusha is person as who-ness. The universe, which is the manifestation of awareness, and the manifestation of awareness in its diverse dimensions, is always a who-ness. When we say it's anima mystica, it is who-ness. Or we speak about mystic humanism, is primarily the mysticism of who-ness. Ahama, I am. Soham, I am. The universe, which is the manifestation of awareness, meditative awareness, is in its diverse dimensions is always who-ness. The Purusha is a signifier for the cosmic person. So you will see when you open up the text on the Purusha, you will see many different meanings. It's ultimately boiling down to the same understanding, but it's being expressed in different ways. So it's the cosmic person, or the cosmic knowingness, as who-ness, who's manifest into infinite forms of who-ness, infinite forms of awareness. Shiva is also a Purusha. Shiva manifests infinite forms of this awareness. Purusha is primordial awareness as also the Dharmakaya, manifesting Purusha as the archetypical Sambhogakaya, which is in turn manifesting the single Purusha as Nirmanakaya. In certain forms of Tibetan Buddhism, the archetypes are simply mental. They're psychological. Certain forms, they're mental. Kind of mystical CBT. In other forms, they're energies, creating energies manifesting, and yet who-ness does pervade them. It's not just a screen, a little painting. So of course everybody has different opinions on this. So, in the manifestation of the world as light becoming flesh, there's the unfolding of eminence into the different dimensions or tattvas. There is the place or space or loka where awareness is becoming individuated as singular who-ness within Sambhogakaya and then the Manakaya. Sometimes people say, George Rinpoche would say, wherever I look, I see deities. I see you as a deity. I see you as a deity. This whole world for me is deities. And he would describe that he saw you as a deity, and not all the same deity. This deity is different than this deity. These different deities come through us. That's why, if you attune yourself, you have some deities you love, and you love them completely, and they're your own, as you, and some you could give a shit about. I don't like them. Hang out, even though they ultimately are only one, just like us. Who, and yet there's only one who manifesting everything and anything. So, who-ness manifests in the Sambhogakaya and the Manakaya, who-ness manifesting within the elements embodied in the mind, yet who-ness nonetheless. Who-ness is respiration. This experience arises in meditation and the drama becoming aware of awareness. This who-ness. Timeless awareness in time. Timeless awareness in time and space. Timeless awareness being experienced in time and space is wholeness. The dimension of wholeness is the dimension of the Tantra. Purusha is the subjective aspect of knowingness. What? Knowingness has a subjective aspect? Yes. Does it have a family? No. Does it have personality? Not from a generational field. It has qualities. The subjective side of primordial awareness. The gaze. Being gazed upon and gazing into. As the Dharmakaya Purusha is primordial no-thingness manifesting itself as everything and anything. The cosmic person manifesting infinite forms of personhood. Personhood as archetypical dimension. That's what actually astrology does. It helps experience personhood through these different energetic manifestations as who. All coming through the who. The who is not just created by the energy. All the energy comes through the who. Think about that yourself when you have nothing to do. The energies come through you as a who. Dharmakaya manifesting c'est moi. Personhood of the Dakini, forms of archetypical deities. Personhood is fields. And then the archetypical dimension is worlds, as individuals, singular Purusha, peoples, forms, animal forms. Sorry to take so long. Person as mountain, seas, lakes. Person as planets, suns and moon. Anima mundi, as Jung would call it. The anima mundi, huh? When the sense of personhood is lost, then impersonal thingness dominates. The sense of knower and knownness is lost. When the sense of subjectivity is lost, the world becomes dead. And the gods are dead. God is dead. And the earth is dead. And humanness itself dies. When the experiential and innermost sense of loss of Purusha unfolds, animals become commodities, right? When the innermost sense of Purusha is lost, awareness itself becomes a thing. A widget. Widget world. At this point, maybe we'll stop here. Let me just go over and skip a little thing here. So for this frame, the essence of humanness is the Purusha. That's what Purusha is. The essence of humanness. Humanness is personhood personified. Humanness is personhood personified. Humanness is the embodiment of light. And the essence of the Purusha is light. Light. Purusha is the light of the sun. Purusha is the ground awareness as pure light. Purusha is the light as archetypical configurations. Purusha is the dark light of the Troma Nagma, the pure light of the white Tara, the blue light of the Divine Mother. Purusha is the light of the human face. Purusha is the light of the human face. And the light of bodies. And the light of animals and trees and houses. In the drama of becoming aware of aware of awareness, human beings shift from being located in the mind alone and become located in the space of awareness. Who is Purusha? Then the embodiment of the sea of awareness brings forth the embodied Purusha as one's own self. And from experiencing the light of Purusha within one's own self, one experiences the light of Purusha in others. And you really love that other. You're actually really loving who-ness, huh? As who-ness in that particular form, in that particular divine manifestation. By the power of invocation, the power of the archetypical Purusha is embodied, and the dimensions of Purushas become more manifest. That's why those practices I find really useful, huh? If they're not mentalistic, and I'm trying to identify with something. The power of attunement of the Purusha to its dimensions resonating to the dimensions of Purusha. Almost done. Besides the personification of the Purusha appears within the human heart, the hridayam. And as the text moved up the centers, that's when the Purusha became more obvious. There's always this correspondence where how the energy is unfolding in our bodies and what we appear. So as it became more, as there was this unfolding to the heart essence, then the Purusha began to appear to people, to the yogis, the blue being. Okay? The blue being with the heart is about 3 inches, and the essence of the blue person is light, luminous brightness, able to create everything and anything. And this pure light is ultimately love. And the Purusha may also appear at times as the blue being, who's the size of a human being, and the Purusha may also appear as the cosmic being, vast and infinite, creating everything and anything. The same blue light appears in meditative experience and meditative awareness. The Purusha also appears as the blue person, Nakilakanta, I think it's called. This is a person human size and sometimes larger. The blue person is the embodied Purusha as the guru. So the guru is also the blue person. And to experience this apparition is really great. To experience the Purusha is to experience the mid-level of the archetypical dimension of human experience and to live within the archetypical dimension. By mid-level, it doesn't mean that the Dharmakaya is not there, but you actually have apparitionalness. And Dharmakaya alone is just who? As the capacity to dwell within the archetypical dimension will increase as the capacity to dwell, this is why we're doing this, as the capacity to dwell within the archetypical dimension, they'll increase the power of the transmission of light from the Dharmakaya through Sambhogakaya into the flesh of the Manakaya. So as you and I become more skilled in the Dharmakaya, then we also become more skilled in the transmission of light to each other and to this world. Because it's the Dharmakaya manifesting in the world, which is Sambhogakaya. It's the first breath coming forward of the elements. So with that long, laborious talk, we'll stop, okay? But that's what I see us been doing for the past period. We'll sit for a while. Of course, you don't have to agree with this, because all this is an opinion, right? Which is really great. So we'll focus, and let's do a geometry now, okay? So maybe we'll do that. Everybody in inner heart. So let's form a geometry. We'll just form right there, somebody right there. Purusha. Have you ever seen the Purusha? Have you seen the blue being? The blue pearl is the blue being. The blue pearl is the blue being, but without form. That's why sometimes the blue person actually becomes the blue pearl, and then the whole thing explodes. But the blue pearl, it's more easily for us to see the blue pearl than to see the blue being. But as you cultivate that awareness as your own self, then you'll see the blue person. That makes sense, doesn't it? Or a felt sense, or a felt sense, okay? We'll move the mic over here. Can we let the people see here also?
And in my experience,
Yes.
Diversity of how it appears,
Yes.
diversity of how it appears.
Yes. Say more, please, about the...
There's such a diversity of how it appears. I had one week when I was, doing my work, and I would say something to a client with conviction, and then at the moment I said it, there's a huge patch of blue just flashes up here. I mean, it usually appears to me as an affirmation of that something, that the God is present, or that something I'm with is the highest truth. But it was so coordinated with what I said, something with conviction, and then or the client would say something with conviction, and it would just flash like this. Yeah.
Conviction is very important in all this, but not conviction from your mind. Without conviction, nothing's happened. Conviction is actually invocation. The power of conviction, the power of faith. Faith is actually a kind of conviction. If it's in your mind alone, you would become a fundamentalist, and you'll be a nut. Okay? It's okay.
That's what I was thinking through the whole process is sometimes we can get caught in striving to meet these levels. Right.
Absolutely.
It has to be coming towards
It comes to, it's a givenness. And as you and I understand, all this is givenness. Just like our voice is givenness, breath is, everything is given. Everything is givenness. The givenness of phenomena. And you attune yourself to the basic givenness of phenomena. And then gratitude arises. And then we start entering into this realm. So let's hold awareness right now, okay? Glad everybody's on this morning. I would never believe any of this, but I would think about it and then focus on my experience to see if it's there. It may not be for you, maybe for someone else. So here we are hanging out. It's all very personal. This is really mystic humanism, really, from my frame. This is mystic humanism. Humanist as divine. So let's have one person sit in the middle. Patricia, you mind sitting in the middle? We'll lean into Patricia. Now we really want to leave our meanness for a minute. Leave to me and to who? Become who? Allahu. Allahu. When I hear that chant, that's how I heal it. Allahu. And and so Patricia, you can lean into me if you want to a little bit. And you can lean to Elizabeth and Skip. 3 people. And what are you experiencing now?
As soon as I got into the middle, I'm experiencing like it's a large spout. It's mostly here, but it's here. There's several entry points, and there's just energy pouring in. It's like a river.
Great. Let's say with that river. So she's using the language of the elements, and she's describing through the language of elements the energy coming, the light coming into her.
And now that opening, I was experiencing this. Just now, the vibration and the content of your words was going in, and that as it went in, it was transmuted into energy that was feeding me.
So when she says that to me, I know we're at the level of respiration now, and we're at the energetic dimension. So there's words, and she's hearing the nominalistic meaning of the words, but she's actually experiencing the energy of the words, and perhaps even the intentionality that's contained in that energy, right? Comprehend what I said? The intentionality that is contained in that energy. So now we're in the Tantra. But without leaving at all what you're experiencing, can you speak from the place of experience and put it to words if you don't mind?
So then it's expanding in the sense that it's going, there's a conversion with what's entering, and then it, just a second ago, I could feel it touching every single energy center very specifically. And as that is happening, the heart becomes the center of it. And I'm receiving an experiential understanding deeper than I ever have about how the heart is the center. I mean, I know that the chakras are the mediators of all energy entering the body, and they're even connected to all the organs and systems, but then they mediate the energy at all these different levels. But right now, it's beyond all that. There's such a specific explosion of energy in each center, and yet it's all coming from here.
It's all coming from there. So her words, as a tantric, in the tantric realm, it is all coming through the heart. So she's actually coming into being through the heart at this moment. Moment after moment after moment. And again, we're all holding this together. She's holding it with us. We're holding it with her. The container's here. There's mutuality. I'm going to extend just a little bit because I feel it coming through me to her. And when I say I'm extending through her, that's common language, but actually it's not quite correct. The energy is extending to us both. This is just vehicles. You with me? So it's not like I'm doing it. That I know totally. I'm going along with what's happening. Attuning. And can you put it to words? Because you're very, there we go. You're very articulate. And it helps us.
I'm going along too. And then in between the last time I spoke, I'm now receiving. I don't need to do it specifically with each person, but I just know I'm now receiving each person's essence. It has nothing to do with personality. I feel something very intimate and deep about each. I'm receiving something from each person.
Exquisitely said, because this essence of transmission from each person, this gift coming through each person, is the very essence of each of us that's coming through. But it's not a personal characteristic.
And then my breath is alternating, and when it isn't, when I'm not breathing, my tongue goes up to not the palate, a little further back from that, and then everything stops, and then it alternates between that and some breath.
Thank you for describing that, because ultimately it goes beyond the palate. And sometimes it can be there for a long time, or just it goes back and forth. Huh? And that's also a steady state, that back and forth with it. So we'll stay with each other now. We're just going to hang out and take another little step together. And without leaving where you're at, if you could put that to us.
So what was happening right there was I now am feeling power. It's the only word to describe it. It's just a knowing of who I am without apologies, or without tuning into what I have to accommodate to, or without hesitation. But it's not aggressive, it's not doing anything. It's just I'm being introduced to it.
Thank you. Speak to that for a moment. When you're describing that, I believe that's the power of integrity. That's the power of true integrity. When we can feel that integrity is not with a little part of me, it's not a part of this little feeling or that. The true integrity is that power of this right now. That's manifesting without apology. And then with that moment, all the paramitas come in. Generosity, courage, authenticity at this level. And we can experience how personhood, in the truest sense, arises from this dimension. In a very direct manner. And what are you experiencing now?
I was just with the understanding that, and whenever I use the word understanding, it's not about thinking. I was with the understanding or the experience that, yes, I dropped in here for this incarnation, and I was able to be in a body, and I was able to specifically take a form, and yet at the same time, when I feel all these centers lighting up, and when I feel this power, it's just, I'm part of this huge vortex of power, and I just happen to be Patricia Long right now, but I'm part of that.
Stay with that a moment, that participatory. And it's deeper than participatory, but just stay for a moment with us, with the participatory.
And then it's just way beyond a feeling.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the force of gratitude that I could come here and do it. It's just, whoa. I had the opportunity. It's not a feeling. It's just gratitude itself.
So it's beyond affect. It's gratitude itself at that primordial dimension. So a lot of things that are appearing as feelings are manifestations of this primordial dimension.
And then going after that, what came in was just a reassurance, an affirmation that it is upon us to awaken all of our centers to become free. They're all so important, and sometimes in spirituality that one is above another. But no, it's all meant for us to go there. We need to be with each one.
So at this point, speaking to us is equality consciousness, and equality consciousness of each of these centers, each of these energies, each of these foci.
No hierarchy.
No hierarchy. No hierarchy. Thank you, Patricia, so much. Love having you here, and your wonderful talent. We'll hang out for a while. Let's extend ourselves to the middle. And from here we'll extend to everybody we know and love. And then I'm going to ask Elizabeth to sit in the middle just for a moment or so. Would you mind? I'm going to move in awareness. We're staying in that awareness. And I'm going to place the microphone. And would you mind just making one statement, whatever arises in you at this moment? Place in your hand, the little microphone, and just make a statement, whatever's arising, whatever's coming forth. And we can pause for a while.
Oh, I'm taking in, right before you asked me to come into the middle, I was so aware of how far away the sense of meanness was. And then what came was, I am the blue being. And even as I speak those words, it's like every cell in my body just feels vibrant and vital, and particularly my cranium feels so huge. And from this place, there's just so much peace and calm and connection to the earth and the heavens. The elements are so present. And as I say that, they become even more present. With so much joy, like dolphins dancing in the ocean.
Thank you so much. And then have someone else come into the middle and just say whatever comes to their mind. Any volunteers? Kind of come to the middle, please. We'll extend to you.
I feel this tremendous heat, this moist heat, fire, and feels like we're all in a fire the whole cave of this space feels a fire that doesn't burn physically. It burns its illusions. And in this space, there's not a separation of mind. There's a commonality of experience. When Patricia spoke about the heart, my heart was so huge. And when Elizabeth spoke about the cranium, my cranium just lifted. And when I feel this heat, I feel like everyone is emitting this huge amount of energetic heat that is vibrating at a very different, very high frequency. I don't have a word to describe it.
Thank you so much. Tom, would you mind come sit in the middle, please?
I discovered this morning why I've been sticking with you for 20 years, Rudy. As I remember, we'd get into all these things where my mind would be twisted around my ankles, and you'd say, we all know we're making it up as we go. And that's what I realized when I was in the Qigong this morning. I get this sense of this oneness, complete. The Dharmakaya doesn't do it justice. It's just everything is happening out of this oneness. It appeared as kind of a liquid light in the beginning, and then I guess that would be in this Embogakaya realm. It was this lush liquid light, and then it just got refined into this oneness of everything. It just holds everything together. And everything is going on inside of it and does not affect it one bit. And it just remains. And most of the time I'm like a little whore. I run off with whatever comes down inside of it, and I let go of that oneness. And so my practice is to include that oneness in everything as it goes. And take everything in and absorb it without letting go of that energy, that oneness that is. And I frequently fall in love with things that happen. And when you said that who-ness or individual who-ness is individuation of who-ness, that I fell in love with that. That sense of each of us individual who's are part of the big whole, like a whole whole on. And we're individuated to love each other. And that kind of sweetens the pot. That just makes it so delicious and mouth-watering. And yet in the oneness, without the oneness, the pristineness of the oneness being changed at all, other than sweetened, made more pristine, if there is such a thing. And what pops into my awareness now is this sense that how the owning of the beauty and the grandeur and the rapture is such a healing tool. It's like a best defense is a good offense. And as we own the power of that oneness, it can overcome everything and effortlessly.
We're going to have one person who's online. Let's see, it's over there. Let's have Jan. Jan, would you mind just saying in awareness of whatever arises? I can't pass you the mic, though. She's on mute? Okay. That's okay. We can hear it now. That's it.
The richness and the fullness of the plenum of the group. And going my house, my cat is hanging around. He loves it. And I love the talk that you gave too, in that it described so beautifully so much of what I've been experiencing, and I appreciated all those ways of describing it so much. Sometimes I find it hard to put into language. It's wonderful too.
Thank you so much. So we're going to start ending right now. And who will be here next week? Who? Great. We'll have the seminar, and then as we move into September, we'll start working with each other. But we're working, and it's not that the other level is not useful, not valid, but we're opening up the pot, to use Tom's language, a little bit more, where we're working in the archetypical realm of respiration, to use that language for right now, huh? And we'll just sit quietly for a minute. Oh, so I do have people's certificates here, which is great. And they should be correct, I hope. And pass them out to people who don't have them. Has everyone gotten them? Tom, Karen, do you need one? Everybody has one. Skip, everybody's got one. So we'll meet next week. And then on the 15th, when is the 15th? It's this week, right? That's Baba's Shaktipat Day. It's a very great day. And the day that he experienced that creative awakening of the energy, as his teacher transferred his experience to him. Actually, Shaktipat is a transference of experience, huh? From one who to another. And then from that, just keeps moving. Great. And then, not this week, but next week, that'd be Krishnadas will be at Wapager's Fall, which would be really a lot of fun. And so if you can go to that, that'd be cool. You can register on Krishnadas's website. And on the 20th is Guru Purnima. So we see each other. Everybody's having a great time. And everybody's, there's only one deal. You do meditating for 10 minutes is not going to work. It's great. But actually, you have to put the time in a little bit, huh? This time. Just like this took time, right? This took time. And then it unfolds in time. And then both people were talking about boldness. There's a boldness of ownership. You with me? And if you wait till you're good enough, it will never happen. If you wait, oh Lord, I am not worthy, say but the word, my soul shall be healed. That's actually not a good thing to do, okay? You will always, you have to bypass that distraction. That's a distraction. And you can own it. And you can own the vitality, the vitalness, the energy of it. Okay, thank you guys. See you next time. Yes.
I'd like to put a plug in following that for our morning meditation group, because I can't tell you how much more consistent my meditation practice has been since then. And the field is so powerful. It is so great. And Zoom does not make it any different than being in person. So it's hard to get up at 6:30, but I thank myself every day when I do it.
Absolutely, that's really important. And two awarenesses are more powerful than one. And that's really, that conjunctio, that mixing, you with me? The mixing of these energies, the mixings of the union. The mixing of the union. Huh? Thank you guys. See you later. And hasta la vista.